The Golden Touch. Once upon a time, a king was extremely fond of gold. Although he was blessed with enormous wealth in his kingdom's treasury, he was always unhappy. He would constantly think of the wealth. He thought that if he had the golden touch, that would make him the happiest man on earth, as anything he touched would turn into gold. One day, King was counting his gold coins. A fairy appeared before him and granted him a wish for a few of his good deeds. Without thinking much, King quickly wished for anything that he touched to turn to gold. The fairy granted King the wish of the golden touch and vanished. Next day he got up and touched his bed. It turned into gold. He touched everything in his room. Everything turned to golden. The king spent a happy morning, but soon he felt hungry. He went in to eat something. But strange things began to happen. The goblet of wine turned golden. So did the wine. The bread and meat, everything began to turn into gold as soon as he touched it. He was very unhappy because he couldn't eat or drink anything. The hungry and thirsty king went to see his daughter. She is playing in the garden and came running to her father. She ran to hold his hand, and in a moment she too was turned into a little golden statue. The king cried out in horror and sorrow. King called out in a misery to the fairy who had granted him that wish. The fairy appeared, and King fell on his knees before her. "Take away this terrible gift, please," he begged the fairy. "You must be very sure, King." "How?" Fairy asked. "I don't want the gold, just give me back my little daughter," he pleaded. The fairy gave a mud pitcher to the king. "Take this and fill it with water from the spring in your garden," she said. "Sprinkle the water on your daughter and whatever you turned into gold." King thanked her and ran to the spring with the pitcher to fill it. He ran back to his daughter and sprinkled the water over her. She turned back into normal from a statue. Then he went around and touching everything that he turned to gold earlier. He took his daughter to the table and sprinkled water on the dishes. The food now turned into delicious things they could eat. The king had learnt his lesson. He thanked Fairy for making him realize what was really valuable. He didn't want to store all his gold. Instead, he became kind and generous to all people in his kingdom. Moral of the story is, one should never be greedy in life because the wish of being greedy does not give fruitful returns in the future.